Presenting to you from Group 17, IT and the Real Estate Enterprise, Blockchain Technology in Developing Countries. Our presentation today will focus on the blockchain technology and how it is innovating and boosting efficiency and capability in real estate. And for us, this is a very important topic and something we spent a lot of time thinking about. Why do we choose this? Well, most importantly, in real estate, especially in developing countries where government contracts and large investments are made, there's a necessity for transparency, and oftentimes this does not happen in current arrangements. As well, it's very difficult for the media, for taxpayers, for attorneys and lawyers to keep track and on checks and balances on government spending, on construction spending, and this affects the societies we live in, the places we live in, and we want to make it a better system. As well, just for the average consumer and the average businessman, the ease of use right now, many aspects of real estate is not what it could be potential. So we want to improve this, and we believe blockchain is the best way that we can have this happen. And so particularly our program and our ideas are going to be focusing on third world economies and developing countries. Unlike some more developed countries, their systems of law, their construction industries are not as transparent. They don't have as many norms established, and many projects are either delayed or going over budget because of this. And so anyone who's worked in these parts of the world know this can really hurt not only government projects, but privately run projects as well.
The blockchain. So let's begin with what the blockchain is. The blockchain is a digital ledger in which transactions made in Bitcoin and another cryptocurrency, in fact, transactions in general, are recorded chronologically and publicly. One of the beauties about the blockchain is it cannot be moved. Once it registers a transaction, it will stay there publicly forever. Another valuable tool that can be used is in the social impact investing. The reason for this is we see a lot of NGOs, we see a lot of different projects that want to do social impact and want to do it right. The thing with this is, how do you quantify? How do you quantify the money that goes through them? Where does that money end up? And in the values chain, how do you separate that different monies, where they go and who stays with it? With this tool, we can see exactly how the money moves throughout every single stage in the values chain, making sure that not only does the impact exist, but that the people who fund these investments actually know how much and where their money is going. To further talk about the social impact investment, in particular with using the technology we're proposing, we can see how the impact of a project built with or without blockchain financing really changes when added into the blockchain, because by doing so, we have everything retained in a digital ledger, and therefore we have the creation of an impact token. The value, the end value for the impact token is that this allows nonprofits, NGOs, private, social, different sectors of investors to verify that impact and fund yet another project with the same local partner. What this means is that whether you're doing an NGO, some private, political, whatever type of funding you're doing, this way you can quantify the impact and thus go forward with bigger and better projects.
Another use for a developing country will be how properties are sold and listed. Right now, it can be very difficult to see what is on the market. There's many different portals. It makes it difficult for consumers, it makes it difficult for investors, it makes it difficult to track, to prevent corruption of corrupt officials and companies buying up homes and lands. And as well, all the data is fragmented. You cannot analyze it in any way, and it's very dependent on these portals who hold all the data in different areas. Blockchain can help for a developing country's service. The blockchain cannot be altered, and so it forces the system to be transparent. As well, rather than making it a localized, controlled by a third party, the listing service can be accessed from anywhere in the world, and all of the data is open to others. It's not controlled by only a few people. As well, all of the transactions, they have to be transparent as well. And so everyone's on a level playing field. It does not make it easier for some people with inside access.
Blockchain is also relevant as it relates to the transfer of property rights, and here's an illustration of how that process works. First, the transaction is agreed upon, then it's sent to a peer-to-peer network, then the info sent is validated by the network, then the transaction is added to the chain, which prevents fraud, and then the transaction is complete. Modern countries have more detailed ways of recording land ownership, but developing countries have poor documentation, which makes it easier for corrupt officials to redistribute land and falsify documents. Blockchain technology cuts transaction and record-keeping costs by reducing transaction friction, improves quality of record-keeping, preventing fraud and loss of property, and boosts accuracy.
Here we have listed a couple companies and startups that are using the blockchain technology currently. First is Rex. Think of Rex as sort of an MLS aggregator on the blockchain. People can sell their properties and companies can sell their properties, and it's immutable and immovable. Similar to Rex is Propy. Rather than an MLS, it's more of a Redfin or Zillow type aggregator, achieving the same goal. Velox is a way for companies and individuals to verify title. Currently, as it stands, the title process is very drawn out, long, and expensive. When you put titles on the blockchain, it's a way that really makes the process more efficient. This company is going to make money, and what are their sources of income? An emerging business model right now is blockchain as a service. It's similar to software as a service, however, it's where the software is housed on the blockchain. It's got a couple advantages. It's very easy to implement, relatively low upfront costs. Vendors can keep the software up and running, which means there will be lower internal IT costs for the company that's buying this. And furthermore, there's easy access over the internet, so you can really get it from anywhere. As far as a revenue stream, it's an initial upfront cost, followed by a subscription-based model throughout the duration of the project. So there are a couple of hidden challenges with blockchain as a service business model. Firstly, it can have a lot of hidden costs that aren't thought of from the get-go. It's not always a cheaper alternative when you take everything into consideration, and by everything we mean sort of the opportunity cost of the adoption, the time it's going to take to learn the software, and the people you're going to hire to run it. Furthermore, the mainstream adoption as blockchain as a whole, it kind of has some way to go before companies and startups really start adopting this. And the biggest blind side for blockchain as a service is that it's tough to accurately manage the data flow. While it does input data immutably and correctly, if that data is input incorrectly, then it's going to be forever on the blockchain as an incorrect input.
In terms of the application of the tool we're proposing for government platforms, who's going to be the winners and who's going to be the losers? Well, it's easy to say right off the bat that with the right application, everybody wins. What we mean by that is that the first winners that will have a particular part in this are public taxpayers. They will have access to what their money is doing, in what ways, where, and how much of it. Secondly, is for the vendors, because as long as you're willing to play by the right rules in an ethical manner, you will get a lot of exposure through the same platform in which every other public taxpayer is seeing the work that you do and the amount that you're collecting for each part of that transaction. Lastly, this could make even the government a winner. Why? Because through the application of the correct funding in the right manner, they can generate a lot of public support simply by having the blockchain up and public. In terms of losers, well, that's kind of easy to see. You'll definitely cut out corrupt governments, you'll definitely take out of the scale corrupt vendors, and more importantly, we'll be done with inefficient spending, and that's why this tool in the blockchain is innovation at its core.
To summarize, what does the future look like with this new blockchain technology? Transparent, efficient, highest and best use oriented, optimized for all players and transactions, and technologically adequate. We hope you appreciate the presentation. Thank you for watching.